What's up, everybody? It's the journalist Sin-seer, and I am here with the legendary AJ Rock from the legendary crew, JVC Force. We're here to talk about everything he's got going on in 2024, and especially his brand new book. We got our own thing. We're going to jump into that. We're going to get kind of deep, but not too deep because we want you to go out and support the book. We can't give it all away today. But before we do all of that, AJ Rock, how are you doing today?
I'm good, my brother. I'm good. I'm really excited about this book. Because I do all the news stuff with Black Westchester and stuff. So this got me to get back into the hip hop roots and stuff. And you know,
Right. At what point did you start to come up with the concept to write this book?
well, excuse me. Two things: the 50th anniversary of hip hop,
Okay.
and one of the things I saw every region complain that their region wasn't being represented enough.
Right.
And Pete Rock put out a tweet that he was pissed that most of the 50th hip hop and celebrations did not include Heavy D, which is his older cousin. So he was like, "Yo, any hip hop celebrations that don't celebrate, you know, Heavy D, and he went on, and everybody started commenting to it. So I thought about that, and I was like, "Yeah, I didn't see having a lot of stuff." So my newspaper is Black Westchester. I document, you know, the news with the black point of view in 914. The first book I wrote was about Black Westchester, the origin story. The second book was celebrating black women from Westchester, and their historical achievements. And then I just thought, the 50th anniversary, I needed to celebrate 914 hip hop,
Right.
which got me a lot of flack, though, to be honest, because I lived in Long Island and I made a song called Strong Island. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, yo, where the 516 at? Like, so it was like, so.
Right. So talk a little bit about the 914 and how it relates to you.
Well, I was born here in Mount Vernon. Um, I got a part in the book because it's a very often asked question. Even when I was doing interviews, I'm interviewing Lord Jamal, and he's like, "Yo, you from Long Island, right?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm from Mount Vernon." He said, "Yeah, but you JVC Force, right?" And he starts singing the verse, living in CI and all that. So I'm like, I got a part in there from the 914 to the 516 and back again. So basically, my parents moved us to Long Island when I was like 7. Then they broke up. They got divorced at some point, and I drove my mother crazy. She moved me back to my dad in Mount Vernon. So Mount Vernon, I'm living in the street, 11th Avenue, Monday Lane, which is the borderline. Like literally, the line in the middle of the street is the borderline between Mount Vernon and the Bronx. So in high school, I got to go to all of those cold crush joints and a lot of stuff you heard on tapes and stuff. And we had a lot going on, but early on, just like Long Island, if you wasn't from one of the 5 boroughs, you wasn't really considered respected as like real hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
but I wanted to show in this book, Mount Vernon borders the Bronx, Yonkers borders the Bronx, and a lot of stuff that was going on in the Bronx, which is as is respected as the birthplace of hip hop, was hiccuping over here. A lot of the people that was doing things in the Bronx was running through Mount Vernon, was running through Yonkers. Some of them even lived up here, but you didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? Or they came up here to date some girl or something or whatever. So they was bringing all the tapes. So we had all that stuff real early. And while other areas, in the 5 boroughs didn't respect Westchester as hip hop, we the only region that don't have to cross a bridge to get to the Bronx, like we're right here. So I wanted to show that whole importance of the role 914 played in the 50 years of hip hop. So that was what drove me. I did a lot of the interviews and like this book is full of interviews, um, lists, a bunch of stuff that I put together. Some of the stuff when DMX died, I did a whole issue of the newspaper dedicated to him. So I had a whole lot of stuff on him. So I put a lot of that stuff in the Remembering DMX section. You know, I wrote some of the articles. I covered some of the stuff before. So some of the stuff I had. Um, a lot of people I knew. I went to school with. I went to school with Hev's older brother Floyd was my age, so I really didn't know Dwight Hev as well in school. I went to school with Albie Shaw. I went to school. Eddie F was one of my DJs before he was with Hev. We had a group. You know what I'm saying? And it just like once I started putting it together, it showed how all these pieces was connected, and I tried to bring that out in the book. So,
Right.
I hope that answered your question, but
Yes, sir.
yes, yeah.
Now you talked a little bit about Pete Rock inspiring you to do this book. If my memory serves me correctly, he made that assessment of Heavy D at midpoint of last year, and you came out with this book around November. So you was kind of on a time crunch, so to speak. Can you talk a little bit about the research and the process that you had to go through to put this book together in such a short amount of time?
It's funny because this book wasn't even planned. I just released last year Black Westchester celebrates Black women in Westchester. So people were like, what about the men? So I was supposed to be doing like a men's book, and I had another book that's like 90% done about police brutality. White people can't comprehend the deadly consequences of being black.
Mm,
So that was supposed to be coming out.
right.
But it was just all this 50th anniversary of hip hop, 50th anniversary of hip hop. So I kind of had the idea, and I started, probably taking notes and stuff and everything. But when I saw Pete, that's what pushed me over that I needed to do the book. Um, it was a lot of reaching out to everybody I knew, trying to get interviews with everybody I could get. A lot of digging up all the information. Um, I said, everything is 6 degrees of separation, really, in Westchester, real quick. Like, this one ran with this one. This one, Floyd put me in touch with some people. Got me Pete Rock, actually, direct, contact, and this one worked with this one, and this one worked with this one. So it was just a matter of I just gathered as much as I could, and then I formulated the book at the end. But it was a lot of research. It was probably the hardest thing I had to do. I literally worked 24 hours a day. I was always working on it. I was always Googling stuff. People would send me stuff. What about this artist? And I'd be like, oh, I forgot that artist. But I would have to go look the stuff up myself, though, because I couldn't I had to double and triple verify everything, which was the hard part. And, some of it was online. Some of it, there's a lot of misinformation online. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So I had to confirm certain things. So, so it was a lot of research, but it was fun though. It was just like I was just in the zone and just cranked it out.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about who you had to reach out and got interviews from?
Well, artist wise, of course, Lord Jamal was one of the interviews I did. Supposed to be a 20-minute interview, ended up being like 3.5 hours. So I got enough to write a book on just that conversation alone. Um, what I wanted to do, so when I do a news story, right? If I do something that has to do with the medical field or like coronavirus or something, I go get medical experts to get quotes from. So I figured I would use that same approach. So I reached out to everybody that I could reach out to. Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box, who did 2 of Heavy D's earlier videos. You know what I'm saying? So I had him tell his best videos from the 914 and stories like that. Chuck from All Hip Hop, Kim Osorio, the first and only female editor in chief of The Source. I actually reached out to Dave Mays, was not we couldn't get that together. Quotes from everybody I knew. Wildman Steve, of course, from Long Island. Can't even think. Oh, Bobito. He talked about his experiences and stuff like that. And so, because I wanted, I'm trying to tell you how dope the 914 is, how dope Westchester hip hop is, but I wanted to bring in respected hip hop heads to also talk about it. Like, it's just not me telling you, yo, this region is dope. You got the experts coming in and confirming it and verifying it.
Right. Did you have a team help you put this together, or is this all by yourself?
This was all me.
Wow.
Oh, also shout out to Andre Leroy Davis.
Oh yeah,
My dude, he
of
did
course.
the last word in the source. He's a good friend, a colleague. We've worked together. He's come to Mount Vernon a lot, to do an art exhibit. Me, him, and Bones Malone were on a panel together for Mount Vernon Public Library Comic Con. So it was a comic book, hip hop, so we did a panel together. So I reached out to him, and when I first decided to do Black Westchester in 2014, I reached out to him. I was like, "Yo, I know you drew some artists from the 914. Can you send me the artists?" And I was doing a piece on Big Pun. Remember Big Pun for like Latino, Hispanic Heritage Month. So he gave me the Big Pun piece, So he gave me the drawings. So I interviewed him on what went into him deciding to do these artists from 914. What was the creative process, and what came to his mind when I put 914. So he was so since his thing was the last word, I made him the last word in the book too. Like
I love
that chapter is the last word with Andre Leroy Davis, and he gave me 4 of the original sketches. Um, Jadakiss, like Charlie Brown, called it Jada Brown. Grand Poobah is the Grand Poobah from the Flintstones. Pete Rock and CL Smooth, the Chocolate Boy Wonder. I know, the Chocolate Boy Wonder and the Caramel King, and I think they're DMX as a preacher. So and so that's in there at the end too. So I got to give him much love because he not only let me do the interview with him, but he gave me his actual artwork to put in there. Just I appreciate that. So
how dope is that? Shout out to Mr. Davis.
yeah.
So give us the creative process from beginning to end. Like, what do you get first? How do you put it together? And how do you know you have everything you need to put this book out to the public?
Well, one, there would probably, if I spent a whole another year, it would be another 200 pages because there's so much more that I didn't get in. That's why the book's called A Look at Hip Hop from the 914. I don't want anybody to ever think I'm saying this is the full catalog of everything that ever happened because there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings. Yo, what about me? So it's a look at hip hop from the. First thing I did was I made a list. Every artist I could think of. And what city they came from. Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Yonkers, wherever. That was the first thing. Then the book took a life of its own, like a lot of things I write. I had an idea what I want, but then it was like it just started going in different places. Like I talked to Talent. Talent was in a rap group called the Money Earning Crew, also with us on B-Boy Records. And they had the one single, and then uh, the label closed or whatever. Then he was running with having them, so they were just about to get on, and while they were trying to they were still stuck on B-Boy contract wise, they couldn't get off. Def Comedy Jam starts doing auditions, and Talent goes over there while he's waiting, knowing that the comedy was what he wanted to do. And so because of that conversation and another person I interviewed, Talent, I then had another chapter I added hip hop and comedy. That was JB Smooth is another person that came from was from Mount Vernon who got their start from Def Comedy Jam, and he actually used to dance for some. He used to be like a hip hop dance in the videos before. Before I didn't know that until I wrote the book. So it was just like everybody was telling me stories. I started jotting them down. I would look it up, and then I would try to get people to confirm all that stuff. Um, I started making like towards the end, I wanted to do what I call a discography of 914. So I was like every song that I could think of that came out with a group with at least one member from Westchester. So like the group might not have been from Westchester, but there's one. So that's how I included myself because my group was from Long Island. So
Right.
I had a long list and I was trying to do that. It was just gathering information in the beginning, just gathering information, reaching out to everybody, trying to set up interviews, and then start putting. It was like a big puzzle. Just start putting the pieces together, and then eventually you get this one section together. And then then you start getting this other section together, and then you realize you need this other section. You got to go find those pieces, and eventually, hopefully, I got the full picture now. So that was the process anyway.
Right. From beginning to end, how long do you think it took you to put the book together?
I actually started before July. Um, the reason I know that because my idea was to come out in August. And when I
Right.
first,
With you.
yeah, so I must have started I must have been doing it like in March or April, at least the skeleton part, the initial part. I had in my head this is coming out. I had a date August 15th. Like I had a date like that. We way past that. Then it was just like the next month. And then I decided not to rush it and I put it out for Black Friday. So it
Mm,
would be available for the Christmas holiday. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
so from like say sometime in March till literally almost Black Friday. So whatever time that is, yeah.
Right. No
But
doubt.
but again, you know how artists will say their first album was like their whole life up to that album.
Mm-hmm.
I did the articles on DMX. I got live footage from them. I've interviewed the Locks. You know what I'm saying? I've been to the Juice Bar. I did a tribute to Heavy D. You know what I'm saying? When he passed. I had already did the thing that's what is dope hip hop tracks from the 914 or something like that, the top 10 or something. That was an article I already did in Black Westchester. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
like this was a lot of stuff in the making up to that point, but it was just gathering that and then confirming it and documenting it.
Right. Without giving too much away, I want to jump into a little overview of contents, and you can just give me your thoughts on how everything came into play. Let's say remembering Heavy D.
Remember now again, I went to school with Floyd. I knew everybody around that. I actually met him before in high school before all of that. I was sitting there, like I said, I did the whole issue, a whole newspaper on DMX. I started Black Westchester in 2014. So DMX passed in that time. So I did a whole tribute. So I had a plethora of information on him. But I was like, yo, again, going back to that Pete Rock thing, I didn't have enough on Hev. So I had to interview Floyd and I had to interview all these people. And it was just about, I wanted to pay tribute to this man. He did so much. And he's the only artist that I found in my research, and if I'm wrong, someone correct me, who has actually worked with Michael and Janet, whose last name is not Jackson. He's the only person, the only artist to have worked with both of them. That alone is a big deal,
Right.
and so I wanted to really celebrate him in a way that he hadn't been celebrated. So that's the remembering Heavy D.
Right. Some artists from Money Earner Mountain Burning. Let's say the YGs.
YGs is a group that came out um, under Pete Rock. It was one of the groups that came out on Pete Rock. They were actually, I don't want to call them a gang, a crew. You know what I'm saying? Street crew. They was doing their thing. A lot of times when Having Them came out, now people used to be like, oh, there go them Brooklyn cats. You know what I'm saying? And when Having Them would come out, the YGs and all them would come out real thick, and they'd be like, oh, there go the Mount Vernon cats. That was the YGs. But I think a couple of them from that made up a rap group, and it came up, and Pete Rock